Good morning, everybody. I had a terrific sleep. Nothing like jumping into a bed and sleeping a good 9.5 hours after a grueling, terrible experience that I wanted to go into full disclosure. I was chomping at the bit for those 14 hours, basically locked into Montreal airport and just angry, completely angry, wronged by an immeasurable stick. The whole experience was god awful. I wanted to so many times go live, but I didn't. I did do a video after all was said and done, after the huge betrayal by Air Canada, and I showed my level of impairment. You can see I was tired, groggy. I'm tired, groggy this morning. Eyes white, obviously upset at the time. Still, I'm very upset, but it's beautiful. I woke up this morning fresh, got right down to business, and I want to give a huge thank you to all of you friends, followers, those who reached out to me, not just in comments, but personal messages, experiences. A beautiful link to a rights group for Canadian flyers, the consumer rights group. I found a lot there. And of course, I followed the rule number one, and I did my due diligence, learn all the laws and legislation. So before I get into the full disclosure, absolutely, and they're CC'd there, that rights group, I want to go over some laws here in Canada. When an operator, by the laws of Canada, of our crown, our highest laws in relation to impairment on a flight, immediately, if the operator, that doesn't matter which level of agent, it didn't matter if it was security, the woman at the kiosk, which was my experience, or a baggage person, doesn't matter. When we say operator, that means Air Canada Vacations, okay? So when they determined that I was impaired, and that by the legislation, that means I'm a danger to the flight crew and the flight, everybody on that flight, immediately the law states I'm to be suspended for 24 hours. What does that mean? It means, one, I'm not to determine my next exit strategy flight. I'm not to fly 14 hours later. No, it's 24 hours. So right there, according to our laws in Canada, and Air Canada is owned and operated by the public trust of the Crown of Canada, which is liability to all of you and me. And they didn't follow the law. One, they determined that I could make a decision in that moment of when my next flight was going to be, that I wasn't to be restricted from flying in the next 24-hour period. They set it for 14 hours later, which means, folks, there was no impairment at all, no reasonable suspicion too, which you can see my video. You can see I'm upset. You can see I'm tired. I'm not slurring my speech. I'm calm, cool, collect. My eyes were white, just like they are today. It was an excuse for them not having the flight for me to begin with, for them bamboozling me into a round trip of Toronto, Montreal, and waste all my money and resources and cheat me out of my final destination, folks, which is a trip of a lifetime. Whether Edmonton won or lost, it is not, according to the numbers, even in the realm of normal, that you would see a Game 7 comeback and an NHL game from a team down 3. I made that bet, that belief, early on at the 3-0 period of the series, and we made it to Game 7. Never seen by the numbers, by the statistics, in more than 70 years. Which means, folks, if you believe in that, I will not be alive to ever see another experience like that in my life. I was blessed as a child. I knew how important this was. I knew what it meant, win or lose. And I'm going to tell Canadians, whether you like hockey or you're into hockey, and I know there's a lot of hockey fans, but for Canadians, for someone like myself who grew up the way I did with the franchise, there's a whole bunch of other things that it didn't matter win or lose, how important it was to get to Fort Lauderdale. Holder of the cup, experienced all that as a child. I know what that's all about. I know what I was going to get to share with all of you. Win or lose, it didn't matter. It was to just showcase it. Something never done, never achieved, hasn't been seen since 1945. And it was just epic. For that agent of the operator to do what they did, determining that I'm impaired but didn't apply the law as it is, was shameful and god-awful. It was an excuse. It was an excuse to cheat me out of my flight, my final destination, to rob me of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Now, there was so much more. This woman that became so aggressive, so dictatorial, ripped away my whole itinerary, took Florida from me, snap of a finger. The way she behaved, all the staff around, including security, do you think any one of them came to my aid? No. I kept to myself, upset, super angry, but I knew at that point, just by the look of the Canadian Security Authority there, which is just like our police system, and for any Americans watching, there is no serve and protect in Canada. That is only an American thing. It is not a Canadian thing. I get PSD. And I'll tell you, everybody, now that I'm long gone from there, airport security there, and even police officers, several times I'd get up, go to the washroom. You can't sleep at the airport. I'm holding a bag because I'm in an international trip. I have my passport, all kinds of ID on me, backup. I have tons of American cash. The last thing you want to do is wake up and your bag's gone or you're liquidated. And being from Alberta, my financial situation, I use the Bank of Alberta. Been through this before in the GTA. Didn't want to go through it ever again, where you get robbed and your ID's gone, your ability to get money or do anything is completely removed from you. If you have your phone, you're lucky. E-transfers, that's as good as you're going to do. And it's very costly. Very terrible experience in Canada. Every time I went to the washroom, security or authorities following me, you could see them chomping at the bit. Young guys looking for any excuse to prounce on me and probably beat the hell out of me. That's how it is in Canada. I kept my P's and Q's. I did the best I could. 14 hours. Not on a beach in Florida. None of it. And my whole trip and purpose of my trip was for Florida. Nothing else. Win or lose, it would have been a monumental experience. I would have showcased so much. I had that set for 10:50 a.m. to be where I needed to be, to showcase so many things so many Canadians have never seen that I experienced and I know all about as a child, because I was blessed to be in that historical period of the Edmonton Oilers as a child. 30 years later, and for any NHL franchise team, and we're talking out of 342 million Americans and 40 million Canadians, no one's even seen all those things that I was going to showcase, experience as a child live. Again, win or lose did not matter. It was an historical trip where my team was there. I had bet on it. They made it. They did an impossible feat. And people don't realize what Air Canada did was wrong. It was preposterous. They have not a leg to stand on. That cancellation, that period of 14 hours puts me in $2,400. But does it account for the monumental trip that was ripped from me with no legal standing behind Air Canada? They have to prove a reasonable suspicion. That was never done. Security was not involved. My bags were not searched. I had no bags reported any other way except for one backpack, one change of clothes, a small overnight bag for my essentials, and of course all my ID and American money. There was no booze on that. I wasn't trying to bring any liquor on board. It was a joke. And at the point of that conflict that I didn't respond in any negative way. I'm not an idiot. I know how it works. As soon as you get irate or you get angry, they've got you. And I didn't do that, even though everything inside me told me to. Over the whole 14 hours, I felt it and it brewed. I witnessed horrific events exactly like mine in other situations. Again, couldn't really sleep. Few minutes here and there on a bench, wrapped with my bag, phone plugged in, holding on for dear life, so you don't really sleep well at all. But I've seen the events, and I even saw it in Toronto going back, and a woman agent just going irate on someone. And again, whether all the staff is good or not is not the point. If you have 1 in 20 or 3 in 30 of staff that behave like that, that treat customers like that, who have a mentality like that, and the rest don't do anything about it or don't intervene when you know someone's clearly being wronged, you're just as guilty. You're just as guilty. So I went through the Canada or Air Canada process. It starts with filling out a survey of your experience, and it's all trickery too. And I seen how they were trying to do that too. Oh, how was it at this point or that point? Or what about all this? And on your flight back, was it not better than your flight too? The point is, and get a load of this, guys, this is how bad it was. So in restitution, free drinks for everybody on the way back from Montreal to Toronto. Oh yeah, the provider, everybody on board gets free drinks. Like I'm supposed to take a $2,400 alcoholic beverage on flight to make up for everything they took from me and how they ruined my experience for my holiday that never happened. I didn't enter in to going on a holiday to Montreal and blow all that money to go to Montreal. Why would I want to celebrate anything NHL Montreal? I don't see the Montreal Canadiens playing. Sorry, but they didn't make it. So why would I want that trip? All the notions and everything they try to do to limit your legal remedy, I never bit into any of it. I filled out their survey, which also, too, folks, in their stage, I have to wait 3 days now until I'm able to actually file a complaint. They make you wait 3 days. And of course, they try not to credit you for all kinds of things. They have a minimum set standard of what they're going to give you back. Of course, not your trip, or the idea that they took you out of your life in the hopes of a once-in-a-lifetime dream vacation that no one's going to experience if you follow the numbers for the next 70 years. 70 plus years. I won't be alive the next time around. That's by the numbers. It was a once-in-a-lifetime trip ripped from me because the provider, using not the law, not the level of what's acceptable in Canadian law, decided that they were going to take my trip away from me. Whether it was a woman overstepping her bounds, an agent of Air Canada, or what have you, or it was Air Canada trying to cheat me out of something because they sold my flight to somebody else. Maybe it was overbooked and it was, well, sorry for your loss. We're going to look for any excuse to take it from you. The reality is they didn't follow the legislation. They didn't follow the law that they are experts in because it's their industry, not mine. And they tried to cheat me out of that. If, again, they determined that on reasonable grounds I wasn't fit to travel and I was a danger to the flight crew and the passengers, then I should have been restricted for 24 hours. They shouldn't be getting me to make decisions at the time, and I shouldn't be flying 14 hours later. In fact, I even had a conversation with Air Canada on how they could have got me on an earlier flight just hours later, when the daytime opens up, from that period to 7 a.m., where I barely had any sleep. Again, no problems with any staff, no nothing, but the ignorance was there. Lots of ignorance. I smoke. I wanted cigarettes. One store that didn't open up to 8 o'clock asked for assistance. They purposely send me walking down the way, out the road, out to basically the freeway where there's no way any person can walk and there's nothing there, just to get you more angry, hoping that they'd have an excuse to do something to you, incarcerate you, or say, see, told you. There was a point immediately where the supervisor was called. They even asked the agent, is he being belligerent? Is he doing any of these things? She said, no, but I smell alcohol. There is legislation, there's law in place for them to take me through the process. There was security and then the border and customs and all of the inspection that I should have went through to determine whether I was breaking any laws or anything else. That was never processed to me. It was really immediately upon getting my actual border pass or my flight pass that I was completely bamboozled and destroyed, and rather ignorantly too. And it's just unbelievable that they would cheat you out of something like that and then try to throw it on you and then set you there for 14 hours on your own dime, your own expense. Who cares about Fort Lauderdale? Many accusations made that had no basis, none whatsoever, shouldn't even been part of the conversation. Again, all attempts to get me to admit to something that just wasn't true. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Edmonton fan my whole life. Lots of pictures online of me stating that my entire life. Social media. There was no reason for my trip to be canceled except that they didn't have the flight for me. They were never going to deliver, and they were looking for any and all excuses to remove me from that flight so they weren't liable. And that's the reality of it. Happens thousands of times. This is how it works in Canada. It's worked for a long time. I've seen all the stories. I've read all the outrageousness of it. And of course, the Crown always wins, right? They have a minor settlement factor that all of us, the taxpayers, are liable and responsible to split. Big losers. And even when you do go to court, who are the big winners? Lawyers. And if there is a recovery, you're going to get a small percentage. They get all the reward. Crown. A disgusting, perverted system. I'm going to go through it. I'm not going to let them get away with it. It's sad that ultimately taxpayers are on the hook. It's sad that ultimately somebody else makes the money. It's sad ultimately that there is no life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness in this country. And this is a prime example of it. Again, a monumental, once-in-a-lifetime holiday vacation that could never be experienced by the numbers by any American or any Canadian ever again in their lifetime. Unless you can live, I guess, at my age to what statistically would be the next point, 130 years old. I think that's probably 1 in 8 billion. 1 in 8 billion. So, yeah, shameful, disgusting. I hope this helps other people when choosing where you're going to fly. Never fly with Air Canada. I can say that without a doubt. I've seen disgusting things. I've seen the scam of, oh, no, we're not like that. This was just one bad experience. It's not just one bad experience. They keep getting worse and worse. I fly quite a bit. This is, in my last 3 major trips, this is by far the worst. Worst absolute. But when I needed to get to Kansas, that was bad. Before that, there was another cancellation where it was horrific too, and I ended up taking a $500 cab ride, Canadian, to get to my destination, 4 hours, and I actually missed the first experience, which again was the Crown of Canada, and it was important for me to be there. Still got my trip, but I lost 1 day out of it. Why? because I got bamboozled by the flight authority. And yeah, guess who was there too? Oh yeah, that was Air Canada too. You know, and you never get really righted for their wrongs. I definitely never got paid back from my cab because I had no other choice. Pathetic, wrong, disgusting, and this is made acceptable in our society. Oh well, just take it from the taxpayers. Yeah, we'll partially reimburse you. Go through our process that takes 6 months to 2 years. I may wait, in fact, 2 years. I can pursue litigation, but then again, I have to pay out of pocket. I have to go to where I was wronged. I have to sue in that level. It's pathetic. They know the average little person can't afford to see it through. And that's why this country sucks beyond belief. It always will. It's always going to be a thing that's against all the people because we're not even legally codified as real people, at least as real citizens. Our government does not get its power from the people, but in fact is the power over the people in pure autocracy. And this is just another one, folks. Another nail in the coffin that says, get out of Canada. It's wrong. It's disgusting. I've traveled many times to the States, whether I flew or whether I drove. And in all those experiences with American authorities, I have felt safe, calm, cool, at ease, felt treated well, high levels of service at every level of it. Not something you experience with Canada. If things go sour or south, it's immediately aggression on you. It's immediately attack you. It's immediately push it to the point where they want to see it escalate so they have an excuse why they're wronging and harming you, getting out of financial liability. And that's the Canadian way, from top to bottom. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. If anything this did was drive a nail and a wedge further between me and this country called Canada, which is a joke. So I appreciate all of you. I have a really strong case. Basically, the law is the law, and the operator should have never, if that was their belief, without any determination of my alcohol level, if that was their belief, they shouldn't have made any decisions. I should have been suspended for 24 hours, and they didn't do that because they didn't want to do that because they knew it wasn't going to work out in their favor. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Don't fall for it. Stay away from Air Canada, everything Air Canada Vacations. I know there's problems with all the other providers too. Some may be better, but I see the erosion of this country. Third world status. I'm living it literally month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year. You're watching it deteriorate. I know everybody's going to vote for Pierre Poilievre. The writing's on the wall there. It's not going to change anything, and everyone's going to see that. But this is my video. I hope it helps other people going forward. Drive at this point. Drive to your destinations, because my trip across Canada, well, it takes longer, and there are other expenses. You go at your own pace. You're greatly unrestricted. America, a beautiful service industry to explore. All major cities, beautiful to explore. I never experienced anything like I always seem to experience in Canada at an increasingly worse rate. Again, there's nothing worse than feeling like a prisoner for 14 hours, fearful every time you go to the bathroom, you walk around getting followed, feeling that heat, adding to your stress, your anxiety, worried about your possessions. I mean, nobody should ever go through that. I've never experienced that in the USA. Sorry, people, I should have taken notifications off. Never experienced anything like that in my life to that level, and It just seems to keep coming in Canada, keep getting worse, and there's no remedy. No remedy as it keeps deteriorating. If it doesn't scream third world, I don't know what does. But if you travel, at this point, if you don't have to fly and it's not emergent where you got to be somewhere quick, which is really scary because that's where most of these things happen to you, I would drive. I would drive, as sad as that is. If you're going to fly from the States to an adjoining country, don't use the Canadian system at all. They always try to cheat you anyway. And I've seen this with so many others, even including family on international trips. Oh, you got to lay over in somewhere in Canada. You can't get out directly. And then there's a bunch of added costs, time, and then all these other problems. Delays that ruin your whole international trip. And I think that's done on purpose. And I think that is the design of the Crown. They determined I'm not going, as they did a lot of people. I'm also not the only Albertan to have their flights canceled from other areas of the country, and absolutely including Alberta. And they're all going through the same process as me. And I thank these rights groups for that. I'm looking at all of that. I'm researching. You're right. Learn the law, learn the system. I advocate that too. And I definitely this fall will not be flying to New York in any of my work with ECOSOC and the international community against Canada. I won't be flying. There's no way in heck I'll even look at flying there because you can't trust our system, and they will absolutely, if anything I've learned in my last 3 trips based out of Canada, don't do it. You're going to lose your whole trip, the whole purpose of your trip. And then they act like we'll give you a portion, the whole point of your trip back. Huh? A portion? You want me to pay for all the in-Canada crap that you put on me? I don't think so. None of that was a part of the whole concept of what my trip was about. That's all on you guys, and that should come back to me. And either way, it's going to come back to me and all of you guys anyway. Because why? It's publicly owned and operated and financed. Even the private ones, oh, we need a bailout. Okay, all Canadian suckers, you're going to bail them out. Just like the banks, just like everything else in Canada's puritocracy. And it's scary. It's scary. That's my video. God bless people. I know, actually, Bradley, I'm looking at that too. I've heard that from so many. Yeah, Mexicans are the nicest people. I'm in the University of Mexico as well as Texas, as well as many others I'm not going to get into now. I have more than 30 professors. The one I missed, I would have been introduced to 3 new teachers, which 2 were so epic, and all over the world. It's a beautiful class. I've learned all about South America now, Mexico, who's the main university, the dean, my dean, the senior program senior dean, and he gave me a grace to miss this class. And a lot of people are right. That's one, and don't ask for any more. And if there's any issues with the class and participation, now I'm on that kind of, not shit list, but it's true. I've got a check mark on my name. That's one, and I don't think there's another one. So halfway through my class, it's June here. I've got to get to December 28th. I've got to finish it. I want to finish it, and I can't have anything stop me. For others saying, well, why did you book your trip? My trip today was supposed to be me shooting and filming in Florida, folks, in the beach, on the ocean, and other things I wanted to showcase to you in a place I plan to move to, in a state I want to go to. And I should have been in a beautiful hotel doing my class in the hotel with working internet, all of it, all the bells and whistles. That was my trip. That was my schedule. I was supposed to leave tonight, folks. Not come home forced last night from Montreal, missing my class, because what else are you going to do? And at the heat of the moment, exhausted after being sleeping on a plane and moments of sleep. I basically only had maybe 6 hours total of sleep in 37 hours. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. All forced on me. 14 hours of that shouldn't have been. I should have been in Fort Lauderdale. I should have been in my hotel. I should have jumped in the ocean to show all of you. Should have had my sleep, did my class. Should have showcased you the cup and everything that nobody ever sees of the NHL. I should have been able to do all that, but I didn't get to do it. It's terrible. The whole purpose and the once in a lifetime of this trip was taken from me. And I'll never experience that ever again in my life. Never. You'll never, by the numbers, ever experience that. That'll never happen. That was a huge lottery to achieve that. It was a gamble when I booked the trip after 3-0, but it worked out in my favor. And then Air Canada took that from me. They decided, you know what? Eat it. We're not going to let you have this. Oh, by the way, we're going to cheat you out of all your money. I don't think so. God bless everybody. Share. Get it out there. Bye now.